For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in at thescribbleshow.com and on SoundCloud and iTunes. November 17th, 2017, if you're listening to this on Friday, the day that we usually post the podcast. Happy weekend to you. And I gotta tell you, it's going to be a crazy one, not just in the celebrity world where sexual harassment is rampant, as we're evidently hearing. And I'm laughing not because that is funny, not sexual harassment itself, but just every day. I imagine there are a lot of people in Hollywood sitting and wondering, when am I going to get called out? Because I think that we all, at some point, whether we were a teenager or whatever, I think we've sexually harassed somebody, whether we really thought it was or not. Now, again, there's different types of harassment. There could be teasing, right, or bullying, and then there's full-on rape if you want to go to the other end of the spectrum there. So, you know, have I sexually harassed people? Probably. I guess I still do, but it's all in how it's interpreted and how somebody takes it. Maybe they don't take it that way at the time, but then when they think about it later on, then they sort of change their opinion and feel. So, now I'm not going to get into the debate about whether, you know, you blame the victims or not, because that's not my point. My point is that it seems like nobody is safe, really, these days, and it's kind of scary, especially for celebrities and, I guess, evidently politicians now. We have got a lot to talk about on the show, 30 minutes of time-wasting fun, as I always say, but I think it's going to fly by because there's just lots to go over. I'm going to tell you what's happening this weekend at the American Music Awards. We'll be on the red carpet. Those details are coming up. And I'm wondering if you have started Christmas shopping. With Thanksgiving here, I'm wondering if you have already started Christmas. Or do you wait until after Thanksgiving? For our American friends, of course. Do you wait until after Thanksgiving to start your Christmas shopping? Do you wait to beat people black and blue on Black Friday? It's, I think, how it got the name. Or are you one of those people that it's a few days before Christmas and that's when you're finishing up? I've got some stories to tell you in that regard. Also, the English language. Oh my heavens. You know that social media and texting lingo has changed our language dramatically. I have some stories to tell you and some observations about society coming up in just a little bit. And we all anybody who's traveled on an airplane has probably the same frustrations, and it's kind of an unsaid thing. Like, I think we can all relate to each other when we're crammed onto a plane, and there's just these little things that annoy the hell out of us when you're in that cramped space. I've got a list of my pet peeves coming up in just a little bit, and if there's time, we will talk about a few other things. Again, not sure if there will be, but hopefully we'll cover all of that today. So, we'll get right into it after this break here on The Scribble.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
JB here on The Scribble. All right, it is going to be a crazy weekend. I mentioned that at the top of the show. The American Music Awards are handed out Sunday night in Los Angeles. That is airing on ABC. And hopefully, if you're listening to this on Friday or Saturday before November 19th, you can follow along on Twitter. And if not, actually, you can see the tweets anyway after the fact at Jeremy D. Bradley. I will be on the red carpet at the AMAs. We are producing our syndicated radio shows, Top of the Charts and The Open Road. We'll have 2-hour broadcasts from the event beginning on Monday, so you can check that out at jbonair.com. And then on our entertainment headline show, Monday morning, we'll also have a special edition of the Entertainment Wrap-Up live from Hollywood, Monday morning. That'll be recapping the AMAs, and of course I'll be live tweeting during the actual red carpet and the event. We are not allowed to be broadcasting live from the show. We are allowed to record live the conversations with the artists and celebrities walking the red carpet, but we can't actually broadcast from the red carpet. There's like streaming and everything rules. There's this huge document the AMA folks sent over, so we can't do it actually live from there. It'll air Monday and then for the entire week on top of the charts and the open road. And how does that relate to the Scribble? Well, on Fridays, when we have a new show every week, right, the 30-minute podcast will have clips and a recap from the AMAs next week. So it won't be a live podcast. We will have, well, I'll be talking as though it's live, but it'll be clips from the radio show and the red carpet. So that's what you can look forward to on the Scribble next week. So we're really making the most of the coverage from the red carpet at the AMAs. We'll have a 2-hour broadcast on the radio, a 3-minute quick segment of a recap from the awards Monday morning, and the live coverage will be online. You can watch Twitter for those links as to where you can check it out, and then a 30-minute recap on the Scribble podcast. So really, we're certainly, if we're making the trip to this event, we're not just going to do a quick 400-word article or a 1.5-minute segment on something. We go all out, and that's what's fun about a Speak Free live event. Fun fact, it'll be actually the first Los Angeles or Hollywood. Where is it? It's actually in Los Angeles. It's the first LA red carpet that we've done in probably about 5 years. We actually haven't done it. Do I have time to tell you why? Sure, I'll tell you why. When I first started doing radio years ago and I was getting invited to events, and you have to realize as a broadcaster, trying to make it in the industry and being in Canada was really tough because American networks, TV networks or record labels and PR agencies don't necessarily care about the Canadian viewer or audience because that doesn't help with the ratings at all in the United States. So I had a really tough time getting into events or even just arranging interviews on the phone. And once I had relationships with NBC and Fox and CBS and all the other networks, it was great to be able to cover the Voice finale and America's Got Talent and Celebrity Apprentice and the American Idol finales and the, I said the Voice, X Factor, I guess. But it became really time-consuming to fly from, and expensive, to fly from Canada to go to LA for a 2-hour event, fly all the way back, and it's not a direct flight, so you've got to connect and all those hassles of travel. And it ended, and like I said, it just became very expensive, so we kind of stopped doing it. And also the novelty just sort of wore off. People were asking if we were going to cover the Oscars or the Grammys, and the answer was always no, and I'm not even sure that we ever really pursued it, just because those are red carpets that are dominated by like Ryan Seacrest or the actual network that is hosting the event. So like Robin Roberts on ABC or whatever. We know that we're not even really going to win the audience at that point. So again, I'd be paying for the experience to be there, but what are we really getting out of it? And I know that we're not going to have, a record number of people listening at that time because everybody's going to be tuned to television, right? So that's why we kind of just stopped doing it for about 5 years. And then somebody said, you know what, why not just kind of do it again? And so I think we're going to do maybe one a year. We'll cover an LA red carpet maybe once a year and feature the highlights on our radio shows, our podcast, online, on Twitter. So that's what it was. Yeah, the novelty kind of wore off. Don't get me wrong. Crazy exciting, super fun to be there on the red carpet, talking with celebs, drinking in the press room. But when you have to look at the amount of time that goes into it. And also, too, I've got a house, I've got dogs. I have to arrange all that stuff at home as well, and then do the commute. And then one of the things that you probably don't realize is that our shows and our content are assembled after the fact. We're actually not doing any of the production during the red carpet or during the event. And that means that going back to the hotel is when photos need to be edited, audio needs to be uploaded, the radio shows need to be produced. And all of that can actually take about 5 or 6 hours. So it's not unheard of to still be awake, hunched over the computer, several drinks in at 3 or 4 in the morning, finalizing all the content. And then remember, because you're West Coast, we do our entertainment wrap-up show live for some stations in the East Coast. So if it's a morning show on the radio at 7 a.m. in New York, or on the East Coast anyway, that's, even earlier, right? You're looking at about 4 a.m. there, so there's really no time to even go to bed. And then, depending on the schedule, it's like flying back to Canada the next morning at 6 o'clock. So you're about running out of the hotel on the phone talking to a radio station and then bolting for the airport because your flight's at 6 a.m. So again, it's incredibly fun to go. Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining about it, but that's just kind of why we stopped covering them. And, so we're kind of looking forward to it. It'll be a good time. We'll have more on the Scribble right after this.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. So again, happy Thanksgiving to our American friends. Canadian Thanksgiving was in October. Actually, somebody was asking me why it's different and if there are any other holidays that have a different date. And there aren't really any that I can think of. They're usually all the same, although we do have different holidays, right? Canada doesn't have presidents, so there isn't a President's Day. And the U.S. doesn't recognize Queen Victoria, and Canada has Victoria Day in May. So there's some different holidays, and sometimes they actually end up falling on the same day. Veterans Day, Remembrance Day, both have the same sort of meaning or subject, but they're called different. They have different names in the respective countries. So with Christmas here, and it's the holiday season now, I guess is what people call it. A lot of people wait until Black Friday. And again, I'm not a big shopper anyway, so for me, Black Friday is not really... I think in Canada anyway, it's Boxing Day, December 26th. If you're a Canadian listening to this, you know what Boxing Day is. That's the big thing. And Canada is starting to recognize Black Friday. I guess it's kind of becoming popular. Nevertheless, I don't start my Christmas shopping until probably mid-December. Now, here's the deal. Everybody always says that that's a guy thing. Everybody says that you're a procrastinator. Oh, you're just being a guy. You wait until the 24th. No, I just don't go through life having plans weeks and weeks in advance like that. If I'm at the, and again, I hate the mall, but if I'm at the mall, let's say it's July and I'm there and I see something that would be really funny or relevant for my dad, I would probably get it. I would get it then. But I wouldn't sit there, like, already thinking Christmas shopping. Like, I would just pick it up, and here's... In my house, I have a closet. And that's kind of where I just dump a bunch of things that if I got something on sale or if I regift, anything like that. My brothers aren't the best for inviting me in a timely manner to their kids' birthday parties, so it's not uncommon for me to have 2 or 3 hours notice. I swear to you, 2 hours notice before my nephew's birthday a couple weeks ago. And so it's easy for me then to just go to the closet and go and look at what kind of toys there are for the little kids, right? So I have a closet at home that's like that. But again, if I see something for my dad, I'll buy it, not with the idea of, hey, I'm Christmas shopping in July. I don't do that. And it just so happens that I will eventually kind of have it on the radar come December, mid-December, and that's when I start to focus on it. What's this? Live it one day at a time. Live life one day at a time. That's kind of what I am, and that's just how I've lived for a while. And again, I hate the malls, so you'd think that it would be motivation for me to actually do the shopping earlier, right? To avoid the malls, or just do it online, which is kind of what everybody seems to do. So I don't have a big Christmas shopping plan. I only have about... Let me just think here. I've got 5 nieces and 2 brothers, so 9, 10, 11. So not even like 15 family members to buy for. So it's, and what we do too is with the couples, like with my brothers and their wives and then my parents, it's one gift for the couple, right? So it's like a gift card to a restaurant or something. So it's really not that difficult. We really do take the easy way out when it comes to our family gifts. And I'm also one of those people who says, I don't really need anything, and if I want something, I'll just buy it for myself, right? You must know somebody who's like that. Well, that's really how I am. Again, I think when you're a kid and you don't have your own money, you sort of make the list, and then you think, okay, I want these things, and somebody's going to buy them for me. As an adult, I mean, I have my own money, so if I want something on December 12th, I'm going to go and buy it December 12th. I'm not going to sit and wait and go, okay, maybe I'll get it for Christmas. It's just a very weird way to live. And again, I don't think of Christmas a month ahead. So I don't think, hey, you know what, I'm going to wait until somebody asks me what I want for Christmas. I don't make a list anymore anyway, so that's probably... I think, isn't Christmas kind of just not as fun when you're an adult in terms of the gift side of things? You then actually appreciate the togetherness and the family bonding, or with your friends or your coworkers or anything like that at the Christmas season. I find, I'm 35 now, I find that I go more so for the company, and then having the drinks with my cousins and sitting and chatting with my aunts and uncles and having some eggnog with my grandma. So it's actually more about that. And quite honestly, if I'm not mistaken, I kind of think last year I kind of resented the gift opening portion of the night when we did Christmas, because it kind of interrupted the conversation that I was having, and I was having some really good conversation with my family members, and so that's kind of what you look forward to, at least I look forward to during the holidays now, is, oh yeah, that's right, we've got to do Christmas presents, so, oh yeah, that's right, there's stuff under the tree. The kids are of course waiting for it, but as an adult, I just want to go for the company. Yeah, I feel like I'm getting very old. But again, there's nothing wrong with that. I think I was spoiled with toys as a kid, and I know my brothers were as well, and then you just have an appreciation for it. I think that it's a really good thing. And when you think about how many holidays people look at as just getting a day off work or whatever it is, that you want to make it special for the holiday season. Love to know your thoughts on this. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble at thescribbleshow.com and on SoundCloud and iTunes. I will be one of the first to admit that I don't have the best grammar, but I do know how to speak properly. Now, I'm not justifying improper grammar by saying, well, that's just how people talk, but at the same time, you also don't want to sound like an idiot by speaking properly. And that's what's weird about society, is that if you are speaking to, let me give an example. With whom, right? With whom am I speaking instead of who am I speaking with? Like, things like that will actually jump out at somebody, and okay, you just sound stupid talking like that. And I think that's kind of where people sort of dumb it down, if I can use that term. There's an observation I made while watching Shark Tank on ABC, of all shows. I have noticed lately that people answer questions with the word so. You remember when you were a kid, you were told not to start a sentence with and or because. We were just told that it was wrong. It seems like now the answer to a question starts with so a lot of the time, especially on Shark Tank. So listen for this if you are a Shark Tank viewer or if you just talk to people. I'm going to give you some examples here. So on Shark Tank, they will say, how long have you been in business? So we started in 2010. Okay, do you see what I did there? When did you start? So we started. And then if you get an investment, what will you do with the money? So we need a new website. I don't understand why people start or answer a question with so. I realize that I've started a sentence with so, and actually I did setting this story up, and that's totally different. But when you're answering a question with the word so, it almost seems like we've missed the first part of your sentence. And I'm thinking of all this on the fly, so hopefully it's going to make sense. So if I'm walking my dogs and I'm telling you this story. I'm walking down the sidewalk and somebody was coming towards us with a little dog. So we crossed the street and didn't have to cross paths. That's where so would make sense. If I just started telling you, So we cross the street to avoid blah, blah, blah. It's like, all right, wait, we're missing the first part of it. And having so at the beginning of a sentence is fine, but again, it's if you're answering a question and you're starting with that. So listen for that if you do. I'm very observant now every time that I even say the word, just because I've brought it to my attention, and I'm going to be listening for it from now on. But definitely have a listen next time you watch Shark Tank, or just you hear somebody answering a question with the word so. And I also use the word bean. This is what's really funny. Me saying bean, B-E-E-N, B-E-E-N, jumps out to Americans because you all, American Yankees listening to this, say the word, you pronounce it bin, B-I-N. And when I first started my radio show, I actually had a guy email in and say that I am mispronouncing or not pronouncing correctly the word bean. He actually corrected me to say it's bin, not bean. I couldn't believe that. One, that was very ballsy because you're actually the one who's wrong. So to tell me that I'm wrong when it's actually you, and I even just say, like, spell it out. B-E-E-N. You don't say the word seen, S-E-E-N. You don't say that as sin. And I realize that's not a good comparison because there are words in the English language that do have the same ending but have a different sound, right, at the end. But something like that, that's like, it just sounds so dumb to a Canadian, to a Brit. We generally say bean. I think a lot of Canadians might be starting to say bin because there's a lot of American influence on television or just in media in general. And when you always hear it, you end up eventually saying it. But bean is something that I say because that's just the correct. And don't get me wrong, I hated the college course composition and grammar. I had to take that when I was going through communications and wanted to be a journalist, and I was taking journalism. And we had a British instructor. I think maybe that's what it was. He just seemed so smug and smart, and you kind of resent it. But it was boring as hell. I hated the class. And I'm going to tell a story about cheating on a paper. Okay, so this is back in the day before social media. The internet, was around. We were actually just starting to text when I was in college. That's how old I am. And I just didn't want to read this one story that we were assigned for composition and grammar. So I had gone online and found a website. They were few and far between at the time. And I paid, it was $200 and something to get this report. And naturally they claimed that it's going to be error-free and you're going to ace the paper and get a great grade or whatever it was. And it was coming down to the wire. It was that morning that the paper was due. And I skipped school in the morning because I'm like, again, we didn't have email on our phones or anything like that. I had to be at home to have my AOL account. That's how old I am. It was AOL. And I'm waiting and waiting. And maybe about not even 2 hours before the paper is due, I get it in email. And then I open it and I'm reading it. It made sense, but what it seemed like was grasping at straws, as though somebody maybe even just read like the back cover of the book and then stretched it out really hard to try to summarize like either what the story was. I don't remember exactly what the questions were or what the assignment was, but I believe we had to summarize the book. And then almost like, did you just Google Translate half of this? Because again, it's kind of there, but it's kind of not. And I ended up failing the paper. So it's kind of like, wow, not only did I pay $200 for this, I should have just not even handed anything in and saved the $200 because I failed anyway. So there you go. Now, here's the deal. I'm not condoning cheating because look at where it got me, right? And that's not the only reason. And you shouldn't cheat in school. You shouldn't do things like that. It's dishonest and it's not right. You should sexually harass people, as we've seen in the celebrity world and in politics. But yeah, it was just a terrible memory. But now, once I'm out of college and I was a managing editor of a publishing company, and I write books, and I'm an author, best-selling author. I do have a new appreciation for the language, I must say. Certainly I'm not speaking it properly 100% of the time. I am using slang every now and then, but yeah, I'm halfway there. I'm knowledgeable of the language and the grammar rules. I don't just follow them all the time. When we come back, if there's still time, a little bit of time, I'll tell you about some of my airplane pet peeves right here on the Scribble.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
Jeremy Bradley here on The Scribble. I'm going to open this segment with an admission. I am a dick on an airplane. And I think a lot of people get into a mood, right? It's just a different space. It's just a different environment. And there are some things that I do. I mean, I travel quite a bit. And one of the things that I do is I will be one of the last to board almost all the time. I have no desire. I've already stood in line at security for 45 minutes. Now I don't feel like lining up to get on the plane. Here's the deal. I'm sitting at the gate. I can see that there's still 40, 30, 20, 10 people in line. I'm going to go when there's about 5 left, and I can rest my feet. I don't have to. And again, if you're going to be on a long flight, you might want to stand for a little bit and stretch your legs anyway. But for me, I have no desire to inch forward, with my carry-on, holding this, carrying that, pulling this, and I'll just wait. And the funny thing about that is I know from the times that I have boarded a plane first, you're sitting there, and with every person that walks by, you're hoping that they don't sit beside you, right? You hope that you get that row to yourself. You know you do, don't even lie. And so I kind of like to get their hopes up when they're sitting there. Sometimes it's a row of 3 people, or it might be a section, 2 seats. And especially if it's 2, or even 3, because you think the person's like, oh, I'm going to get the window seat. Yeah, nobody's got the window. I'll take the window seat. Nah, buddy. I got it. And that's just something fun I like to do. I kind of, it amuses me because, again, I'm an ass. And so then when you're sitting there and you sometimes you'll glance over, you might say hi when you sit down, but there's those chatty people. I was coming back from Indianapolis when we taped our summer vacation shows in Indy, and there was a guy who was sitting beside me, a very, very large man who used to be in UFC. When I say large, I just mean like big, muscular, not like 500 pounds, but just a big hulk of a man. And he had to go for some kind of a knee surgery, and he was telling me all about that he's got to leave the country because there's nobody in the U.S. that does it. And then he starts talking about his daughter, and then he told I'm going to say a racist story, but he wasn't being racist. He was talking about how he was a white guy. He was talking about how he met his daughter's friend's parents, and the family is black. And so he ended up telling a story about a racist remark. So you get what I'm saying there? He wasn't telling a racist joke. He was relaying a story that was racist and thought it would be funny to, I guess, break the ice when you're meeting this guy. And again, very large UFC guy. But again, so my point is that he was very, very chatty the entire flight. Thankfully, we were only on the plane, I think it was not even an hour. We were going from Indianapolis to somewhere, Chicago maybe, and it was a quick flight. But again, he chatted the whole time. So what do you do? What is the etiquette? If you've got your headphones, do you kind of just like wait for him to stop talking and then put in your headphones without saying something? Do you actually go and say, okay, I'm just going to listen to my music now, or I'm just going to watch a movie? What do? Do you sit there and let them talk your ear off? Because if you start to add anything, that's going to strike up the conversation, and then you're doomed, right? So if you don't want to talk to the person, don't even acknowledge and go, oh, that's hilarious, or say, yeah, that happened to me one time, because now you're screwed if you just want to have one of those quiet moments on the plane. So what do? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. Yeah, I want to know what you think about this, because there's just so many things that annoy people about planes, right? You've seen the videos of these air rage incidents where people are just so pissed off. And when you think about it, for some reason, these things don't, well, I guess they do happen in restaurants or retail stores or something like that. Just maybe not as frequent. I think it's elevated now because of all of these stories of people being dragged off planes or what have you. So it's always heightened, right? And then people start coming forward with these videos. But it's just, air travel is just so frustrating when, and I'm one of those people who, if it's on my way home, I really have no patience. Like, I just want to get home. Whether it's a work trip, it's usually a work trip. I don't really get vacation time. But it's one of those things where in the home stretch, I'm in a foul mood. And especially if I've got to go through customs too, I'm just like telling myself, be patient, be pleasant, don't, whatever. And, yeah, but air travel is just, it's not fun. So there's lots of, little etiquette things. And the armrest, very quickly, we've got about a minute and a half. I was reading a report that said if you're in a row of 3 seats, who gets the armrests, right? Because you've got 3 seats, 6 elbows, but only 1, 2, 3, 4 armrests. So I was reading that most people think, and it's an unsaid kind of a thing, that the middle person, the person in the middle, should get both armrests because they're sort of inconvenienced having to be sandwiched in between people. So the person on the left gets the outside armrest, the person on the right gets the other outside armrest, and the person in the middle gets the two. What do you think of that? And secondly, what happens if the person beside you falls asleep? So you've got the window seat, but the person on the aisle or in the middle is sleeping. What do? Do you wake them? Do you wait for them to wake up? Do you kind of just nudge them? That's what I've done, is you sort of nudge them, but pretend it wasn't you, and then they just kind of wake up. And then you happen to glance over and notice they're awake and say, oh, you know what, yeah. Well, actually, you wait maybe about 30 seconds so it doesn't seem like you. And then you go and excuse yourself and get up and go to the washroom. Or do you wait till they go? Live at jbonair.com. We are so out of time. Again, I am live tweeting the American Music Awards Sunday night at Jeremy D. Bradley. At Jeremy D. Bradley. We'll have a full recap here on the Scribble next week. Happy Thanksgiving to our American listeners. I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat,